oldest here. Besides the coaches, I think I'm the only one here with grandchildren. Oh, that's old. And also, too, I knew Dorfman when he was a young 20-year-old, came as assistant Frost football coach. That's been a long time ago, 36 years. 36. Very thankful for all of that. This has been stopped with the picture. This has been kind of a family reunion for us, so very thankful. And my brother, I had him write the retrospective. First time I've seen my brother in 25 years, and so he couldn't be here tonight because they're going on a long trip, but they saw him the last couple days, and so it was a chance for us to reconnect, which was special. Met my children, some of them for the first time, and so I'm very thankful for that. I'm a thankful person for many things, but I'm thankful that I've always come from Aptos. I've always been proud of that. I left very early. I left right out of high school. I went a year to San Francisco State. But at that particular point, playing baseball there was not going to fulfill what I wanted to do in life, which was ministry, and especially San Francisco in the early 80s was not by any means. And so then it was off to seminary, and it was there that I met my wife, and so she didn't know any of this. And so she's always been great to be a part of this and tell the children how great their father used to be. But Aptos has always been a great place to come. Most of the time when I'm out and about, I was in Southern California for many years, and now we're up in Washington, serving with the Salvation Army. People really, they've heard maybe of Santa Cruz. So usually I lead with that, and sometimes I have to say, well, about 90 miles south of San Francisco. Then if they do have some connection to Northern California, then I'm able to say, well, I'm from Aptos. And was always proud of that. It's a wonderful community to be from. I've always been, ever since this was announced, Steve Bunner called me the day that said I was actually driving the homeless to a resource fair, and I said, you got to get out now. I'm a Hall of Famer. I can't be driving you people. My wife didn't want me to tell that. I've always been said, too, because of Trent Dilfer being, his time on the Seahawks, being in the Northwest, I was always able to give it credence, then say, well, Trent Dilfer's a member of the Hall of Fame. At one point, I finally caught myself, hey, someday Trent will be able to say Scott Ramsey is a member of the Hall of Fame. I think that will be so. My mom and dad are long gone. They were my influence. My brother and I are 18 months apart, so there was a competitive there. There was backyard brawls, really, for all of it. But mom and dad were the coaches. It was long before women were ever coaching, but if you looked on that Little League lineup card, it was mom's writing. And it was mom who made that lineup. Dad was a figurehead. And so mom was that. Even so much that when I went and walked on at San Francisco State, I pitched a little bit for the coach. He said, you had a great motion. Where'd you learn? I didn't think first, and I said, Mom. And then I said, but we had the backyard mound that got put up every year and had to be taken down because Dad wanted the grass fixed, and had the batting cage because the Walters had a batting cage, so we had to have a batting cage. But if it wasn't Mom and Dad, it was a dentist that was coaching. Dr. Daly and Dr. Kubota were the coaches. Bear here, Coach Lynch is here, Gary Sakamoto, Coach Townsend, Larry, Kurt. Thankful for all of that was able. I'm thankful for family. Been married to my wife for 32 years, 4 children, 2 grandchildren. We have a son-in-law, another son-in-law coming in June, and so very thankful for that. Thankful for the participation and be able to be in sports, and what that was. I never wanted to be one of those people that can only be part of sports. I married into a family that knew nothing about sports. My wife was a musician, and her parents were, and they're ministers. They didn't know what they were getting into, but they thought that when Scott was going to have children, that he was going to be some maniacal coach of that. I tried not to be that. I try not in my sermons to give references to sports. I don't want to try and be some one-dimensional in that I played high school football. I looked up. I'm old enough to know Married with Children, and Bundy was, I played 4 touchdowns at Polk High School. I played high school football. I was going and seeing some of those in the past. There was an episode where he was with his future wife, and it was after he scored the 4 touchdowns in high school football, and he said, oh, it's not like this is going to be the highlight of my life. be a part of sports. I officiate sports. I went over to the dark side that we call for that. So I umpire, I referee football, I referee basketball. It's really been a joy because I can still be in it. Kids are all grown, so I can't coach anymore in that way. So I've gone to the other side, and it's just a joy. I mean, my last games before I came was youth baseball, just to be a part of it and just having a great time with that. I learned leadership through it. I learned competition. I learned that there's winners and losers. I learned that there's a work ethic, and I developed relationships that I was able even to reconnect to today. I'm thankful for the memories. I tell people now, because they don't know when I played, they look at me and think I was a lineman. No, I was a quarterback. I do tell them if I was ever running the football as a quarterback at Aptos High School, something had gone horribly wrong. I did not run for that. I even do slow pitch softball, which is interesting, but I do senior softball. My daughter lives with her family in Las Vegas. I got to the point where I found out I can go down and I can referee, or I can umpire senior softball. And so then they have their world championship. So all of a sudden, here was a Northern California team, and talking to a couple of them, and they were mostly Bay Area, but hey, we have a couple guys from SoCal. And so then wanted to connect, and it was a 55 and under team, so that was about the right age for that. Talked to the one guy, and he said, well, he went and he played football in '78 for SoCal. And I said, well, and he couldn't place, and I said, well, I was a quarterback for Aptos, we beat you that year. And then he kind of looked, and then he goes back, and he talked to a couple of the friends. During the game, he finally comes back up, and I tell this story, and I shouldn't. He looks at me and goes, well, you were a lot skinnier back then. and so well, that was the only thing for that, so he didn't make it through that game. I even use sports in my ministry. One of our first appointments was in Inglewood, down in the LAX area, black community. I was still 23, 24, still liked playing. Some wanted to be in the Salvation Army basketball league. There's a lot of Salvation Armies in that, but I needed a team. The Salvation Army is very small. So I had a secretary, and I said, hey, does your son know any people? And so we got a team from the community, and I got to be the white shadow. I was the only white player in a black team, but even in Compton, I was able to score the winning basket on a half-court shot. It was my greatest time, even more for that. And so sports really has been very special for that. The children play, daughter played fast pitch. So it's fast pitch in Washington. It's softball in California. I never understood that. It's fast pitch up in Washington. Son played, son swam, he wrestled. The daughters have swum on the swim team for that. And so it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. I'll end for that because I've already gone too long. Recently I found a book that was Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And the book was a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. And he said, the essential thing in heaven and earth is that there should be a long obedience in the same direction. That their result has always resulted in a long run, something which has made life worth living. I would have to admit that